That's where we really see it, is being able to look at those trendings, the historical data, where we headed, and if it's in the wrong direction, let's take a change right now.
Hey, y'all, and welcome back to Real Money Talk. I'm your host, Erica Neal, and your authorized infinite banking practitioner. And our Spotlight members are perfect examples of what happens when real operators build solutions for real problems. So I just felt like that was a really good idea for Real Money Talk, right? We want to get real on all the facts of what's going on. And today I'm joined by Jeff Satz and Hector Arteaga. This is the team, along with Meryl Calliser, behind Dynamic KPIs. So between the three of them, they bring decades of experience across law, private equity, operations, technology, large-scale real estate execution, all of the above. Merrill's been at the center of billions of dollars in real estate transactions, syndications, and restructurings. He's done acquisitions, management, disposition of thousands of single-family and multifamily units across multiple states. Jeff spent his career building and scaling enterprise systems, driving massive efficiency gains inside of global organizations, and later bringing that same operational excellence and discipline into real estate as a CTO and COO. And Hector comes from the enterprise data and technology world as well, but with direct operator experience, managing and investing hundreds of units himself, which gave him firsthand exposure to how broken reporting and delayed insight can impact your decision making. And I think we all know how incredibly frustrating that can be. So Dynamic KPIs, it was born out of all of that combined experience, not as a reporting tool, but as a performance intelligence platform designed to give owners and asset managers a clear and consistent daily understanding of how their portfolios are actually performing. So this conversation isn't about dashboards or spreadsheets. It's about visibility. It's about alignment, and it's about making better decisions faster, especially as your portfolios are growing and complexity increases. I think we all understand in the world that we're in that if you're feeling behind with reports or having to scroll between this, that, lagging information, how incredibly difficult that can be, this is the team and this is the conversation worth leaning into. So Hector, Jeff, thank y'all so much for coming on. There's so much to go through. I'm excited if you guys can't tell.
Thank you, Erica.
Awesome. So I just mentioned a couple of things. I think, before we started the actual interview, I mentioned that this situation is so unique because it's not just somebody bringing a solution to the table. You guys have an entire team of people that went out there, did the thing, right? You guys have done all sorts of, a million and one different real estate transactions on the single family and multifamily side. You've done operations, you've done asset management, and you're identifying the problems that exist in that world. So you were in it, you saw the solution, and then you saw the problem and then created the solution. So not just talking the talk, walking the walk. So I guess, Jeff, we'll start with you. Let's pull back the curtain a little bit.
All
Tell
right.
us a little bit about your background and like how did all of your experiences lead you to where you are now?
So I'm actually an engineer by trade. That's what I went to school for, even though I don't really use many of those skills. But it's really the background that kind of helped me, work together as a team and start to build this. I was in the telecom world for over 20 years. And like most of the people that are listening here, real estate wasn't really my full-time job. I was kind of like a little side thing, kind of doing it, as a passive investor or just helping get things going. So Meryl and I have known each other for over 20 years. And, we've had a lot of irons in the fire. We had a lot of businesses going on.
All the time, right?
He has a legal practice. We had a title company, and we were doing single family aggregation. So we had all of these businesses that were going on at the same time, and we realized we really didn't have any kind of insight or clarity on how they're performing, especially when we started on the single family side, doing acquisitions, renovations, property management, leasing, all of that. We just didn't have a really good view on its performance. we had a lot of data. We had a lot of reports, a lot of data, but not a lot of insight, not a lot of
Mm.
clarity. So we really started to build this for ourselves and for our own businesses in terms of pulling data from various systems and putting it into a report dashboard, that really kind of makes sense. It lets us do kind of an early morning 2 minute glance, just to kind of see, where we are, how we're performing, because since we had a lot going on, we needed to make sure that our attention was used to the best, in the best practical way.
Yeah, you don't want to read a 10-page report every time you want to get a snapshot of what's going on when you're running into a morning meeting.
Right, exactly. So, and we need to know, where do we focus our time? What actually needs attention? What problem? We had
Mm.
a lot of staff. What problems do we need to focus on? And this is kind of what helped bubble it up to the surface. So it just kind of evolved over time, again, from our internal looking at a various businesses. But we just needed that visibility.
Yeah.
We needed to know, what to focus on, what not to worry about, because that's just as important. If things are going smooth, we don't need to spend a lot of time on that.
Oh, love it.
So it was really kind of in the last couple of years that we really started doing this and showing it to clients who were like, this is great. How can I use it? We really never really set out to sell this. We use it to solve our own problems. And then, a couple of years ago, we met Hector, who was able to help us scale this to the next level.
I love it. So you guys took it from a problem in your own business, right? You created a proprietary, and I think I remember many, many years ago, I remember you talking about like the birth of this, and you were talking about, I don't know, I feel like I remember that conversation and how you had built that out, but creating it as a proprietary software for you guys. And then other
Mhm.
people are like, wait a minute, can I get a piece of that, right? And starting to realize the value you could add to the marketplace.
Because
That's
as we started to expand into multifamily, we had multiple assets, different investors in each set. We had
mm.
different property managers on each one. Everyone used different software systems, and we were just inundated with Excel sheets. Everybody has Excel sheets, and doing their own custom formulas and bringing in all that in there. But how do we make it easier for people? And it started making it easier for us.
Yeah.
And now we're excited to be able to help make it easier for other people.
Oh, I'm excited for you. I love a good Excel sheet as much as the next person, but
Yeah.
you can have too much of a good thing, right? Like,
Too much of a good thing. It happens.
especially when it comes to that. So Hector, obviously, like I said, I know Jeff and Meryl, they've been doing a lot of different things and obviously dove real deep into the real estate world for the past 20 years or so. But tell us about your background. How did you guys just collide?
So I've been doing IT forever, for 20 something years, right? All around CRM, sales, marketing, right? That's been my bread and butter for the last few years. And then I started in real estate about 4 years ago. And funny enough, the first conference I went to, the first person that approached me was Meryl. The first handshake I did in
Oh,
my
bless your heart, you
any real
stayed.
estate conference, I know. For
That's baptism by fire if I've ever
And we're
seen it.
still together.
it
Oh
was
my
it was the
gosh.
first
I love you,
handshake I
Meryl.
did.
Just we know.
I know, yeah. For better or worse, turns out to be for the better.
Yeah.
So yeah, funny enough, my first handshake, of course, I shook hands with about 100 people in that conference, like they do.
Yeah.
And we ended up having dinner and talking, and met his wife, great person,
Oh my, she's the best.
love
Kim
them.
is
And
out of
like a
this world.
year, like a year after that, I met Jeff. And honestly, between my IT background and then going through some of the things myself, we were selecting a property manager for an asset we were acquiring, and a big selection criteria was which system they were going to use, because we didn't want to learn a new one, we didn't want to manage a new one. So it kind of reminded me of my conversation with Meryl and Jeff, and I was like, this is great. I can pick up the best person to do the job. I don't have to worry about what they do because I'm going to get it in an abstract way. It's going to look consistent across all of them. And I was like, this is a pain I'm having. And if I'm having it, there's another 150 people in this conference having it,
Yeah.
right? So same thing. I mean, you property management and picking them is a hard job. They have to know the asset class, they have to know the area, they have to be well staffed. Like it's an art, and dismissing them because of the system they use seems like a very very small thing to dismiss a company that may be the best fit for you. So I kind of lived it, and I'm like, great, let's look at it. and it was running great. But now we can scale to thousands of properties. We today we're managing about 150 assets, and we can scale to 2,000. So we're set for growth, and it's been a really cool experience to be able to partner with them.
That's just amazing. I just think about the easy button of being able to, we all use things like Google Drive or iShare, right? Like my computer has the same information as my phone, has the same information as my watch. Like everywhere we go, we're sharing that same like system and process. So that makes total sense to bring it into a system as necessary for you guys in managing a property or managing a portfolio of thousands and thousands of units, right? Like why make it more complicated than it needs to be? Oh,
What we found is we were being more reactive than proactive. I mean, tell me if anybody can relate to this. We get a property management owner's report. We get it we got it once a month. We get our financials from them. And it's always after the month's end, usually the middle of the following month. We would have a weekly meeting with them where they would give us a spreadsheet of things that they wanted to show us and talk about. And it was too late to fix a lot of problems. So we pull all of this every single day. We want to fix problems before they really become problems as they're starting to skid off. And it's the earlier you catch these, the cheaper it is to fix it. And again, that's one of the other things that we kind of gain out of this is being more proactive in our approach to managing these assets than being reactive with all of these after the fact reports.
I think that's the biggest thing, like you said, is you're not having to wait until after the month's already over to get the report, look back to address problems that are already 30 to 45 days old while
Yes.
new ones are already starting to fester, right? Like yeah. And I think so many people, Jeff, like you said, how many people feel that pain because they're all doing the same thing? What do you think, and that was going to be one of my questions, like at what point did reporting become a real bottleneck? And I think, like you said, it was just doing as you start to scale and have multiple properties and you're having multiple conversations with property managers, you're realizing all that data is lagged. But from an operations standpoint, what do you guys think breaks first throughout the entire system, portfolio, whatever, when the data is fragmented? What really breaks down first?
You're gonna have two different answers to that, but I can take a stab at it first. In my mind, really the biggest thing that breaks is the attention, right? So an asset manager is trying to fix one problem, so we become blinded to everything else, right? So one of the things I think is important is like it's a whole business, right? So you're looking at collections the same as work orders, the same as this, and even if you have more attention to one, you cannot lose focus of the whole, right? Everything kind of needs to work in tandem, and I think one of the biggest challenges where I feel it breaks down is today you're trying to increase your rents or occupancy or economic development. Like you're trying to fix one metric, and the property manager is going to follow your lead, and they're going to be like, "Oh, this is what you care about," so they stop caring about the rest. But when they look at everything, when you see as an asset manager, you see all of it, they're accountable for all of it, which is their job. So I think it's just keeping the whole business, but prioritize it, but still make sure you're not relegating metrics that are still important.
Makes sense.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I would also add that we all have property managers and they do exactly that. They manage the property. They're focused on what is going on right now. What crisis am I trying to fix? Burst pipes, people, needing to be evicted, going to court for all of that. They're managing the property.
Yeah.
So we also had asset managers, and we want our asset managers, and it's us. I mean, we all wear multiple hats. We want to manage the asset and not manage the reports. And that's really the biggest thing is knowing where to focus. And it's trends. It's all about trends. Where are we headed? Where are we expecting to go? And anytime you go into your property management system and everybody has access to it and they all can run whatever reports they want, those reports are always what is going on right now at this exact moment. What is our rent roll right now? We look at it. Well, today's Thursday. What was it on this Thursday last month? What was it the month before? Are we trending better? Are we trending worse? That's really where our asset managers and us, again, we wear multiple hats. That's where we see the value is looking at the trends. The property manager's managing the property. We want to manage the asset and the portfolio if you have multiple assets. But that's where we really see it, is being able to look at those trendings, the historical data, where we headed, and if it's in the wrong direction, let's take a change right now.
Yeah, and I'm a visual person, right? Like you guys know this. And so my brain automatically goes to a picture and I'm envisioning some sort of ship that or boat, whatever. And if you're going along and you don't realize that you have a small hole and it just continues to leak, what's that phrase? Small hole can sink a great ship. If you don't realize that there is this leak in your system, this crack in the system that's allowing problems to continue to arise until it's too late, you guys are saying like, hey, you're doing, instead of a KPI, you're doing an MRI of the whole thing and
Yes,
figuring out
exactly.
there's a freaking problem, man, and we need to fix it now before it gets too bad. So I think that's incredible for asset managers. Like you said, it's a big tool for property managers, but more importantly for the operators and asset managers. So what do you guys think? I mean, you're both investors and operators. So there's a lot of decisions being made across the board. What felt before having KPIs and having all this data at the drop of a hat, what decisions felt harder than they should have been because your data wasn't clear or timely? What do you guys feel like you were struggling with to make happen?
So one of the things, and a good example is collections. Everyone wants to collect rent. Rent comes in at different times, right? You get a big bump in the beginning of the month when people are auto charged, and then people slow pay throughout the month. We would every day, what are the collections? Where are we at? Where are we at? And it would come to the point where we would see all this and we're at whatever 56% collected. Well, is that good for now or is that bad? We never really took any actual action because it just, well, let's wait and see what it is tomorrow. Let's wait and see what it is the next day. So yeah, again, collections being a good example, we look at the trends, throughout the month, you have a kind of collections that go up from 0 to 90, 100, whatever. But how does that compare with prior months? And what we do is if we're starting to deviate from that, historical curve, what's going on? It tells us what questions to ask the property manager. So what's going on that we're worse than we were this time last month or the last couple months? Or if we're way ahead of where we were, what are we doing differently? Because we also leverage those lessons onto other properties. If they start doing something different and it makes an impact, let's leverage that learning across our other assets.
That's a good point. It shouldn't all be about like fixing problems. I'm glad you brought that up, Jeff. Like this is identifying good things happening so you can amplify those returns elsewhere. That's a really good point.
And we would always take information from the reports that we get. The reports in the system, we're not pre-leased. We don't have a lot of pre-leases. Why not? Well, we actually are. The leases are sitting on our desk. We just haven't put them into the system yet.
Oh, does that sound familiar to anybody? I think a bunch of people just kind of squirmed in their seat.
It doesn't do anybody any good. I mean, look, your property management software, that's what creates your financials, and it needs to be accurate. So this not only helps us, it keeps the property managers, on top of things as well. It needs to keep them honest to make sure that things get put in to set the proper expectations. So we were always afraid to kind of make, big decisions or make a big stink about something because it was, that's fine. They're sitting on our desk. We just haven't entered them yet. And so now we want to keep everyone honest, get everyone in there, and we can make quicker decisions. And it's actually shortened our property management meetings for assets used to take an hour or over an hour. We're done in 15 to 20 minutes now because our reports tell us what do we need to talk about this week.
Man, getting everybody back to work faster, right?
Exactly.
Oh, man. Well, and I think, like you said, it's important to identify the good and the bad and get everybody on the same page quickly. And that was going to be one of my questions is sometimes there can be a misalignment. And so you kind of already answered this, but there can be a misalignment between ownership and asset managers and property managers if the data is inconsistent because how I've seen it is property managers think they need to be doing X when in reality, the asset managers want to do Y because they're looking at two different things. Or like you said, there's information on the desk that the asset managers don't know about, right? So it just creates this velocity of confusion if not everybody's on the same page. So before we get into like all of the benefits and everything that Dynamic KPIs has to offer, I want to emphasize the reality of the struggles we are all facing in real estate specifically. If we just acknowledge the elephant in the room, it's been really hard the last several years.
Yes.
And prior to that, I mean, you could throw a rock and hit somebody that could make money in real estate, right? And then we had this major gravy train. It was great and wonderful. Well,
we had a good run.
Yeah.
Since 21, 22, 23, the veil's been lifted. And now we're starting to see it's not just a money grab. You have to be a good asset manager. That is a good asset manager, or I'm sorry, I'll say this. Asset management can break a good deal or make a bad deal good. Like bottom line, I think we can all agree on that. So before we get into all of the things that Dynamic KPI can do for asset managers, I think it's important to acknowledge the reality of what we've been experiencing the last several years. What, in hindsight, when you're looking at what you guys have now and you're looking at everything that you've experienced in the past, what do you think the risks are of getting data and seeing the performance of your property purely in hindsight with that 30, 45, or 60-day delay?
I think that's really interesting way you put it, because I was going to answer with a similar point on the previous question. So I think so the delay is real, and I think the delay between the property manager to the asset manager, from the asset manager to ownership, that delay is real, right? And even if it's a couple of days, by the time it gets to the top, it's a couple of weeks behind, right? Because even the best property managers are looking at like a weekly period when it's not monthly. So even if it's a week, you're already 10 days behind, 11 days behind. That becomes 2-3 weeks by the time it bubbles up the chain. So it's been hard, yes. And I think one of the things that we do that breaks that cycle is we pull the data up every day, right? So we are constantly asking the property managers what's new. And every day we deliver the same dashboard to the asset manager or the ownership team, or it gets delivered to anyone who wants it, right? We don't really charge for that. It's like if you want your entire team, it's more about who needs to know, right?
Nice.
And that keeps everybody in line, asset managers and owners. And then, funny enough, a lot of our customers just will look at it in the morning, take a screenshot, highlight it, and just question mark, what is this about, right? So there is not even a word of like, it's like, hey, this is weird, give me details, right? And the property manager already knows what they're thinking and they're coming back. So I think that cycle being shorter, we have even like an exception log that says, hey, it's rare to have a lease for less than 30 days. So this must have been a typo, right? So we bubble those things up. That is like, this is clearly somebody, especially in the new year, right? Like 2026 versus 2025 happens all the time.
Yeah.
Or leases for 1,000 days, which is also not right. So things like that, we're also trying to bubble up. So by the time they come in, you can actually go and say, you know what, we catch an issue on your contract. We need to redo it before it's a month late or 2 months late, where it's like, hey, this lease makes no sense. Why is this lease for 10 years? That's not what we do. And the other side I was going to say is one of our reports actually looks forward into, hey, who's gonna rotate, whose leases are expiring, and how much are they paying? Do we want to retain them? Do we want to increase it? So it's not only how much is collected, but hey, let's plan for the next month. Let's plan for the next 2 months, because that's a really good tenant. I'd rather keep him than coin flip on who's going to be next in that unit. So
how powerful to not just be looking in the rearview mirror the whole time, but to give yourself the ability to maintain control of what's going on in the present, but also plan for the future. So many people feel like they're doggy paddling and can barely keep their head above water, right? Like, so you guys are giving them the ability to manage not just the now, but also start projecting into the future. That's
right. And amazing. It takes them a few minutes, right? Like, you know what, or you know what, that tenant is paying way too little. It's just out of market by today's standard. let's have a conversation, right? Maybe there's a situation, but I really like to think about it as a full asset management in a box, right? Where we kind of look at the past, the present, the future, and all of the metrics that are important. And honestly, the cool thing for me is a lot of our asset managers come and say, hey guys, can you come up with this metric that I really use all day? And you know
Yeah,
what? First of all, we can. Second of all, will it benefit all of our other asset manager clients? If it's a yes, all right, let's put it in the next release and make sure everybody gets this new way to look at, analyze the data, and make sure that they're getting the benefit from it.
yeah,
Wow.
most of
Okay,
our
that's
enhancements.
being
Yeah,
able to say like, hey, I'm going to raise the flag. Like, I need this particular report. They can just come. Like, if you have an asset manager that has a specific data point that they want to highlight, you guys are able to go in and customize that and make it available.
yeah, I mean, we don't do like full customization for every single person, but just about all of our enhancements come from our clients. Because they have questions that they ask, and we're like, you know what? This would be a benefit to a lot of other people. That's where our evolution comes in, is using that client feedback.
That's
One of them
fantastic.
was looking at the, lease expiration. We all have slow periods of leasing and high periods of leasing. But when we look at, over the year, when our lease is expiring, we don't really want to have a lot of humps there. We want to kind of like level it out a little bit.
Right.
So, this month, let's try if we could do, 13-month lease and see if they could sign into a 14-month lease to kind of like balance out those lease expirations. So we're not kind of scrambling every month. We want to kind of level it out as best we can.
That's a really great idea. Like, if you know that you've got 50% of your, or not 50, but maybe like 20% of your leases, right, that are on a 9-month or 13-month. Hey, let's just try to get a couple of 14s and 15s in there to level the
Right.
playing field come that time.
Yeah,
That's a
end of
great
the
idea.
year is a very slow time for leasing. We don't want all of our leases expiring in December and
Yep.
having to replace them. Let's try to push them out a little bit.
Well, I
The
think that's
other
powerful
thing,
because you guys are in it and you guys know that,
Yes.
right? Which is what makes this, not only you're in it now, but you're listening to other people that are also in there. So with all this shared collective like brain work, this is a living,
yeah,
evolving tool.
right, and it's like the community power, right? It's like, yeah, they
Yeah.
tell us, hey, this is what I need, and it becomes better for everyone. Another thing, kind of recognizing how things have been hard. A lot of our customers come from like, you know what, I have my BA somewhere that is actually downloading the files, copy pasting them in my master Excel with a million macros and graphs, right? So it's not unheard of. There's training, but there's costs, right? And when we come in, it's like, well, we take care of it. We make sure it's working. We make sure we ingest them every day. So unless something happened with a PM company where we didn't get it, we automate that, right? So your VA can make more calls, can help you with something else. So we're not saying get rid of them. We're saying use them for something more strategic, because we will process, we will deliver, and you will get all the kind of the color coded green, yellow, red.
That's exactly what was going through my head was green, red. Yes. I'm like,
Yeah.
you've got your reporting time, right? Which is yellow. It's important. But the other side of it is the green time, right? That's the revenue driving time. You got to get out there and make the money. So that just creates more green time for you and your team. I love it.
Correct.
I'm not kidding, Hector. I was literally like in my head, I'm like, oh, green, yellow, red. And you stick it right from my mouth. That's
There you
crazy.
go.
We try to keep it simple. Green is good, red is bad, yellow is, just keep an eye on it.
Yep. So let's dive deep. I think, like you guys said, we've talked a lot about the struggles and obviously how important asset management is. A lot of the struggles that you guys have faced, being in this space as well. Let's talk a little bit about the actual dynamic KPI system. So when you say performance intelligence, what does that actually mean in a day-to-day use?
So it means our customers will get the reports ideally before 9 a.m. It's not always in our control when we get the information from the systems, but by 9 a.m., you're having your coffee, you pull up your phone, you pull up your iPad, and you should see at the very top level, you're going to see all the important metrics: occupancy, revenue, leases, month to month, just like this little table. And as you scroll down, you're going to get more detail, right? All the way to how's my budget doing. And we go through basically, like I said, asset management in a box. We go from collections to how were collections last month, how am I trending before the other months. Let's see. And we will actually go through work orders, what was your conversion ratios, how many prospects we have, how many converted, where did they come from, where should I put money to allocate? So all of these things, right? Of course, as the property becomes stable, it's really cool to see how you then start to optimize, right? So instead of paying for expensive subscription, I'm really getting more of word of mouth referrals. So I'll just incentivize my tenants. Or where would I put this money here? How are my work orders doing? So you start to get way more granular, right? Where at the beginning, let's stabilize it. Let's make sure you're getting paid on time. Let's make sure if there are opportunities, you can see it. And more importantly, you get eyes on it every day.
Mm-hmm.
So the property managers know you're looking at everything like you should. And then they get in the habit of putting everything, because if you see something that is not there or it's red, you should ask them about it.
Yeah.
And then that they're gonna know you're looking at everything, and it's gonna encourage them to perform better, right? Most of them do. I'm not bad mouthing property managers, right? But they will be more accountable because they know you're looking at it.
That was going to be one of my questions is what obviously the dynamic of what you're looking at and what the property managers are doing every day is going to change. So what type of conversations, or what are the changes to the conversations that asset managers are having with property managers because they have this day-to-day live reporting tool?
So, I mean, we're all looking at the same information. The reports that we have, and we go beyond just the dashboards that we'll get into, but it gives you all of the information up front. But what it doesn't give you is the why. Everything has a story.
Mm.
And we spend our time now understanding the story. Look, our occupancy has been going down, for the last couple of weeks. Why? The reports will tell you that, but they won't give you the why. So that is what we talk with our property managers about, are all the whys. Why is this happening? And once we kind of get into that underlying, information in the story, such and such is having a hard time. Maybe we need to make a staffing change on site. We kind of understand and we actually have more productive conversations on how to address the whys now that we know that the dashboards tell you all the whats. We have the conversations with the staff about the whys.
I love it. So can you guys, with those conversations, can you give some examples of decisions that have been improved simply because the signal is coming earlier? You're identifying the problem sooner. What type of decision impact are you seeing in your properties or your clients' properties?
I
So
mean,
I'll just give,
collections is good.
I'll just give one quick example, and Hector could jump in. So part of our kind of future move-ins, we have upcoming move-ins. That's one of the kind of metrics and graphs that we show, and they have not just what the rent is going to be of the lease that was signed. We also overlay the market rent. We take the market data, we overlay what is the market rate for it. So when we lease something over market rate, great, that's wonderful. But we actually had one instance where we leased up unit for below market, and we started getting into the whys with the property manager. They were able to go and revise that and actually get closer to market rent, on that particular lease.
Wow.
Whatever story that they said, we quoted the wrong rate. It's a special that we don't have anymore. But those are things that we see, and that was one specific example of something that we were able to improve our bottom line on is that.
And imagine if that problem had not been caught immediately,
Yeah,
and
if it's
that
month 2, you're done.
right. And
Mhm.
how many times would that problem have repeated itself, right? I mean, like that one lease and the one adjustment to the income is important, but what's even more important is the opportunity that you prevented of that same issue repeating itself for the, I mean, God forbid that happened on the first and it happened for the next 29 or 30 days. How many hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars per month, millions of dollars over the next couple of years if that adjustment hadn't been
Yeah,
caught?
and lease renewals is the same thing. We
Yeah.
all want to continue to rate. Oh, we're going to renew them. We're going to, add $20 to your lease or whatever. If someone's already paying way over market, renew them at the same rate. Get them to
Love that.
stay. Do it this. We don't have to raise them. They're already paying above market, and we see that right in front of us.
Yeah, and you're preventing that tenant from leaving, right? Because they're already at market rate, so you're gonna help maintain that retention. I love it.
Exactly.
Right. One of the ones I particularly like that I think is super visual is the unit vacancy age. Like how long have they been? When you look at it in Excel, it's just numbers, right? And it's great, and it could be 1 day or I don't know. We've seen 60s, 70s, right? But you see it when you put it on a graph, it's like, hey, this unit is out of the norm. Like, why is this unit so far out on lease, right? And it maybe it's renovations, it's fire, it's water. There's a million funny stories out there, right?
Yeah.
Horror and funny both. So honestly, just having that conversation and saying, you know what, our average target is between 1 and 15 days empty. That's normal. When it goes to 16 to 30, 35, we're starting to get concerned. We're losing more revenue. And if it goes above 35, and same red, yellow, green type thing,
Yeah.
you can see it. And when you put it one after the other and you're stacking them up, it becomes very clear to have the conversation with property managers like, hey, why is that unit not renting? Why is that one not renting? And then you give them priorities not only on we need to get the occupancy up, but tell me why it's not. Tell me the units you have available. Who's the perfect fit for that? And then you can strategize about who's the right tenant for that unit and how we go to market to fill a particular group of units versus just a generic statement of we need more tenants.
Right. You can specifically identify what's going on with this unit. So who's gonna fit into that particular category.
Exactly.
I love it. So with that, can you guys, I know we have a visual of the dashboard. Do we want to dive into that right now and start? I mean, we've talked about all the wonderful things that this program, that this software can do. Do we want to give like a little sneak peek of
Yeah,
what
we'll
to
give
expect?
give you a sneak peek. Let me pull that up, and so I'll share my screen. And as I'm going and finding that, I'll just say that, it's not just the dashboards that everybody get. Everybody has different levels that they want to see. Some people don't want to see all of this, detail.
Mhm.
So not only do the dashboards, but we do alerts as part of the what you receive via email every day. We do alerts, and now we're rolling out a mobile manager, which gives you just the high level. Owners don't necessarily need to see all these details, but just give me the top six metrics on my assets, just right on my phone. Just pull it up whenever we want.
Oh, wow.
So, owners don't need all of the detail. Some of the times when they go into meetings, they just want what is it right now. So we just give them the top level stuff right on your mobile phone. And there's this new thing. It's called AI, I think.
Sound familiar?
I've never heard of
So
that.
yeah, yeah. So we actually do monthly AI summaries, which again, since we built it for ourselves, we use it for our investor updates to put it in there
Oh,
to kind of
We
give a
run
whole.
we run the dashboard every month at the end of the month. So we grab all the month's data, we run it through AI, and we'll give it a couple months of data and be like, hey, what do you see here that maybe we're missing, and what are some suggestions? We specify where they're at, and then AI just goes crazy and says, hey, I don't know if you noticed this trend, you could do A, B, C. And some of the actions they've suggested are actually pretty cool, just because they're completely out of the norm, and they're just it's so cool to be like, why has anybody said this,
Yeah.
and how do we take it forward? So
And AI
it's
is such
really
a powerful
simple.
tool to leverage, right? Because we get in our thinking rut, like we literally have grooves in our brain, right? For the routes that we take on our thought process. AI comes in and disrupts that by bringing in, like you said, alternate thoughts, alternate ideas. So you guys are
Yeah.
taking AI alongside the reports that you're getting to say, one, you can summarize it, but two, you can also maybe identify some problem solving.
Correct.
Yeah.
More than summarize it, because the asset managers know what each metric means. They can work with it. But some of the ideas that it says, hey, maybe think about this, or maybe consider that. And it's kind of like, okay, that's value add, right? It may be doable, it may not. But like you said, just lateral thinking and some external insight, it's just so valuable because it opens your eyes to maybe not exactly that, but that adjacent possibility, right?
Yeah, I mean, dashboards are great, but insights are what really drive the actions.
And I actually wrote down the quote you said earlier, Jeff. I really liked it. You said, everybody has data, but not everybody has insight or clarity. And that just really, that one of the very first things you said stuck out to me. And I think that's incredibly powerful. Okay, awesome.
All right, let me know if this is legible. I'll make it a, all right. Hector, you
Yeah,
want to kind of go through this?
I think that's good. Yeah.
Here we go.
So this is one of our multi-property assets, right? So in this case, we have 3 funds and about 5 different properties, right? So this is a portfolio of 5 different units, totaling about 860 doors. So here, the top layer, like I was saying, we have your occupancy, how many are leased, what is the physical occupancy, what is the level. So all of that kind of scorecard happens at the very top. Then we have collections to date at the bottom, and it's like, you know what, this is how well we're doing, this is about what we're doing. And then the trends on the right side, all of those little things is how this property behaves. Funny enough, every property behaves a little bit different because collections start trickling in. On the right, sorry, I mean that gray little trending area on the right of the bars. Those are how this property behaves on paying rent for the last 6 months. So funny enough, some properties pay far. So like the last property at the bottom pays really well at the beginning, and then the second one just takes a lower ramp. And that's their norm. You can see that's how they behave consistently for 6 months. So that's really cool to know because then you can plan when that collection is going to come in, and then you can incentivize the tenants to pay faster, to delay, so you know how to manage your income. Then you have your application funnel. Go ahead. Was there a question there?
No, I'm just like, as we see things come in, we don't need to make a stink about this every single day. If we're following our historical trend, let it continue. Let's focus on something else.
Yeah, spend your time where it matters most, right? Like don't
Exactly.
wait, right? Don't waste time whenever if you're on trend then it's okay. This is just like you said, the way the property behaves.
Mhm.
Correct. And that's a cultural thing. It's so funny how they behave different in different locations or how different property managers run them. It's really interesting. And then you have your application funnel, right? For how many prospects came in, how many appointments we have, how many actually converted on that third section.
So right down
So
here.
that's your prospect funnel, right? Like your sales. How much are you converting? How good is your lease manager? And where are the channels that they're coming from? Are they coming from Facebook? Are they coming from apartments? Where are they coming from? And which one we have the most conversions on? So because this is the type of uh, tenant that each channel will attract.
So we use this a lot. We all use apartments.com. We may not all like paying for it, but
Yeah.
we all use it at different levels. But what kind of bang for the buck are you getting? We made decisions where we've gone down a plan, up a plan on apartments.com based on how many leads we're getting, but what is our conversion? Um, this one you can see, and we've done this on properties, we get a lot of conversion, a lot of traffic from referrals. So we decided to boost up our resident referral program. You know, a $50 credit or $100 credit on your lease, on your
Yeah.
rent. Um, Facebook, when we see traction on Facebook, Facebook doesn't cost us anything. So let's boost up there. If we're getting larger conversion rates from Facebook Marketplace, Google Marketplace, that kind of thing, let's boost our attention there from a social media perspective. Similarly, on our website, if we're getting a lot of hits but no conversions, we ask why.
Mm-hmm.
You know, are the prices not there? Is something not listed? You know, that's where we get into the why. This tells us the what. We want to know the why. And again, for apartments.com, we've changed our spend on that based on what kind of conversion
Yeah.
that we're seeing on it.
Well, like you
So
said, what's the bang for your buck that you're getting from that?
Exactly.
right. So I mean the cool thing about this is I think asset managers after a while this becomes like a face, right? This becomes recognizable, and then they're like, oh, this makes sense. This is fine. This is fine. This is fine. So literally in a few minutes, they're like, this doesn't make sense. Let me ask about this. That doesn't make sense. Let me ask about it. So because we send them daily, there's nowhere to hide for anyone, right? The data is there. Either the system is up to date or it's not, and if it's up to date, then action needs to be taken.
The property manager will come to us sometimes and saying, why does it say this? Well, it says this because of, you know, whatever. And, oh, well, I need to go uncheck this box on the resident's card or something, you know, if they're in eviction or not in eviction. So we get that a lot as well from the property managers to kind of get them to see it from the way that we're looking at it, because then it makes things a lot more effective.
Well, I think that's a valuable point too, because property managers, like you said, they're trying to do their job, right? Like we all are trying to, we think we're heading towards the same goal, but sometimes we're not. Sometimes the property managers view one thing as an issue because they're boots on the ground, they're face to face with the tenants and maintenance and all of that. So what they are seeing and feeling is going to be different than what the asset managers might be wanting to do. So this helps really, like Hector said, nobody can hide, right? It pulls everything out. Like, let's look at what's working, what's not working, where are the problems, where are the, the areas we need to focus. And then this helps just really point everybody in the exact same direction.
Yeah, I mean, trade out as well for new leases coming in. Why is someone paying a lot less? And you can see it right here. Why is someone paying $300 less than the prior resident? And again, we all of these mistakes, all these experiences, we've gone through all ourselves. And one of the apartments that we had, well, the air conditioning, it's the box unit in the window, it wasn't working, and we were able to rent it to someone else without having to fix it, but we cut the rent on it. And it saves us some maintenance and having to repair all of that. And okay, great. That explains the why. Thank you for providing the context.
Right.
And on others, it's like, well, you need to be more aggressive on your leasing. I mean, so we use all of this, again, day to day in our own world.
Yeah, this is
So,
fantastic.
yeah,
So
so
the
that's
idea
just
is,
that's
I was just going to wrap up with it. The idea is that the colors and the graphs should pull your eyes to like, hey, this doesn't make sense compared to where we were, blah, right? So we're trying to kind of grab your attention so you can go and ask those questions. And I mean, this doesn't prevent the calls, this doesn't prevent the meetings, right? It's really just making those meetings more efficient and making sure everybody's aware of where things are at. And I mean, this is a 5-property portfolio, right? So we're looking at 800 units, and I mean,
Oh yeah,
this
I
is
see they're all listed right here.
this is as busy as it gets. So this is about 800 doors, in about 4.5 pages of data, right? So
yeah, and this is just a taste. We have a lot of other things that talk about move-ins and move-outs and month-to-month residents, and we'll be happy if anyone's interested. We're happy to meet with anyone and kind of just go over it all in detail with them.
Yeah, this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? Like,
Yeah.
obviously what you guys have built is fully, it's comprehensive. That's what I'm looking for. It's comprehensive between not just all of the information of each property, but all the information of all the properties and helping identify, right? Like you said, and I mean, we've said it a few times now, but where do you need to be focusing your time? Where do you need to be, spending your attention, spending your money, and just being as efficient as we can? Because let's be real, it's not realistic to just project 20% rent growth year over year anymore. Like, we really have to work for it.
Mhm.
So let's figure out, how can we actually make this property run efficiently? Let's, increase NOI. And anyway, I love it. I think it's incredibly efficient. I love it. So let's hone in just with the last little bit. Let's identify who this is built for. Obviously, you guys have been around for a while. You created this problem, or I'm sorry, you created a solution for your own problem, but there's a lot of people like you. So can you give us, who do you think is the target person that's going to get the most value from dynamic KPIs?
any operator or asset manager that feels that they're spending too much time looking at Excel.
Mm.
Any operator that feels that their property manager team is not is hiding behind the data, and it's just presenting one face when reality may be a bit different. One way that I'd like to explain it is like an insurance policy, right? Just shine a light into all the data and you'll see where the problems are.
Mm.
So people like that, I mean, we really, I mean, you saw that 850 doors on that dashboard, but honestly, we have people using it for 60 doors, and they're happy receiving it because they can manage it in like very concise data.
Yeah.
Of course, we see it more. The true benefit or accelerate is when you have more than 1 or 2 property manager companies because they're in different regions, and then you want to consolidate and specialize that. But we see any of those three use cases would be probably the best fit.
Perfect. And that's what I was going to ask is there a size at which, or portfolio size or unit size that, prevents this from working? So you're saying property size doesn't matter as much, but if you have two properties or two property managers, like this needs to be sending off bells in your head.
Yeah, or if the property manager you feel is not updating you to the full picture, like if you just want to have more control over the PM system, where you're like surfacing every metric and they're like, oh yeah, they're putting here, they're not. Because like I said, I think the property managers are really good at reading the asset managers and saying, oh, this is what they care about. And if that's what they care about, then everything else is secondary. So I think if we're looking at everything, they know everything is important, even if my priority is this.
Right. And I love that too, because it can be easy to focus on one thing, allowing others to start slipping, and then you're just right back in the same problem the next month. So
Exactly.
this is keeping that heartbeat, right? That pulse check on everything simultaneously. That's huge.
Yeah, we wanted to spend less time in the weeds, more time on strategy. We have clients with properties with a dozen units and others with, 300 units.
Nice. Wow.
As long as we're able to access the data, and we work with Appfolio, Entrata, Resman, Rent Manager, Yardi, and I'm probably missing one, but all of the big players, we work with them. We're able to provide you this value.
I love it. So what do you think when you guys have new clients come on, people get into their dynamic KPI and they start using this? What is maybe one or two things that operators starting to use this software immediately recognize? Have there been any big like aha moments that these operators are acknowledging as soon as they bring this system in?
Well, when we do bring them in, it's not just we're setting you up and letting you go. We actually spend time as part of the onboarding, walking you through. Well, first we'll bring in all of their data, and then we actually walk them through their reports to make sure that they understand. Because people will call things different things.
Yeah.
Calculate things maybe different ways. We have not just occupancy, we have forecast occupancy. Well, what is that? Well, you have things that are leased and you have some people moving in, some people moving out, some people in eviction. So what do you expect it to be? So we're educating them on some of them. We're trying to get more consistent kind of language and definitions. So really it's the first month or so we're
not a lot to
think if something looks bad, because again, sometimes it's going back to the property manager where they're not entering. We don't have any prospects. Well, are they entering them all in the system? We want to make sure all of that kind of stuff is happening. So that's why we kind of hold your hand through the whole, first month or so.
Yeah. And I think that's a big relief for a lot of people. That was going to be one of my questions, right? Like, what does this process look like? Because it can seem daunting. You're like, oh my gosh, like this is great and wonderful, but man, this seems like a lot of work. So what you're saying is you guys are really hand-holding throughout getting implemented and integrated into the system.
And because we're coming from the PM company, it's adding zero overhead to anyone. There is no additional work on the PM company, on the asset manager. There's no like, hey, let's go through a discovery phase. It's really, hey, let us connect, let's pull the data. We'll make sure it's stable and we'll just go through a stabilization period. But there's no additional overhead where you have to press these 3 buttons every time you want to do something. There's nothing like that.
Oh,
one of the other big changes we see is like, oh, I didn't know that metric was useful. How do you use it, right? Like what does that mean? And then we explain, you know what? This is comparing your pro forma versus your current performance, right? And then they're like, oh, that's interesting. So I see it every day. Yeah, perfect. So some of those were like the collection of the metrics we bring in. Some of the asset managers like, so how do you use that? Like, what does that mean? So it's fun because they're improving their asset management just by looking at more metrics and different angles to the information.
Right, considering different points of view from the same property just by collecting different data and putting it into these reports.
Correct.
I love it. So, what would you say is the timeline? So, let's say someone's watching this and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I got to call Jeff and Hector tomorrow." and I got to get this system rolled out. They reach out to you guys. They're ready to get started and they want to learn. Oh, QR code. So if you guys haven't scanned this
Go to-
already,
Go to the
make sure you
website.
do. These
Yeah.
tech guys, y'all are so efficient.
What? How? Technology?
I'm gonna actually have to steal this idea because I do love it. I
It's
think
perfect. So
There
yeah,
you
so
go.
you can put this is our website, but I've seen people put their contact information where. So that's our website. You can book a call. Honestly, the book a call is just to make sure we understand the systems you're using, the size of the properties, who you want the reports to go out. Just kind of make sure that it's a good fit,
Mm-hmm.
and then if it's a good fit. Honestly, our biggest time commitment is getting the PM company to help us set up the API access, the report access, just getting them to work with us. Usually, generically speaking, that takes a week and a half of a few emails saying, "Hey, who are you? What are you doing? Why do you want access?" Right?
Right.
We explain it because it's the data from the asset management company. They usually don't have any issues providing it. It's just a setup. And once we get the data, we start getting the data, we'll make sure it's flowing correctly before we start sending half dashboards out there. And we just make sure it's flowing in for a couple of days, get you in. So in a perfect scenario, a couple of weeks and you're receiving your data until it does. And then if the property management system changes, it's our job to fix it, make sure you're up and running in less than 24 hours. So that's kind of our value prop. If something changes on their side, which they often do.
I was just
Well,
about to say
that's-
that's not an uncommon thing. I'm glad you brought
Right.
that up.
So our value props will make sure it gets fitted, retrofitted, fix it for everyone, make sure the emails keep going out. Because I've seen people automate it, but then they have to maintain it, and it's another job they're doing.
Oh my
Which,
God.
like you said, nobody wants more jobs.
Ain't nobody got
So-
time for that. Like,
Yeah, they
well, I
they
told
they
y'all about
rearrange.
my the CRM guy, and I wanted to do automations, right? Like prior to us and our CRM and what we have now, we had Calendly and Mailchimp and like 5 or 6 different programs, all connected by Zapier, and which is all fine. But then every time there was
Until it's not.
yeah, the Zap isn't working. I'm having
When
to go
your
in there and
password
fix it.
changes, yeah, the
And so
reports they
finally-
move fields around.
Yes. And then, oh, did I run out of zaps? Do I need to upgrade my plan or whatever, you know? And so that was obviously it's not the same on the real estate side as far as software programs, but even from our business operations process, I was done. And we rolled everything into one data management, one CRM platform, and we have a team that manages it now. And honestly, at first I was like, oh, I don't know if I should pay for this. But now I'm like, I would pay double or triple because of the simplicity that it has brought to our business. So different industry, same concept.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, 2 to 3 weeks tops. You're getting your reports. I mean, honestly, a lot of it is just making sure the property management. The easiest customers is the ones that self-manage or have full access to the PM, because then they're like, oh, let's just do a Zoom, literally 30 minutes, maybe an hour. We set it up, and they're up and running in less than a week. So it depends on the setup, but realistic management expectation, under 2 weeks, you should be up and running.
So just think about that, y'all. We're still in Q1 of 2026 as it is right now. And so as we're projecting moving forward and you're looking at your properties, you're looking at your, you know, all the analysis and everything you're doing with your property managers and your portfolio, imagine in 2 weeks how simple, how consolidated, how detailed, how thorough your reporting system could be literally in 2 weeks or less, just by getting in touch with Jeff and Hector. And then the rest of 2026 is, I mean, you're smooth set and you're sailing. I mean, 2 weeks is nothing, right? So yeah, I mean, thank you guys so much for coming on. We're going to put, obviously we've got the QR code there. We'll put emails and websites. All the links are going to be embedded in this as well. So anybody that's wanting to get connected, you know, give them a shout, take a look at it, see if this is something, I mean, it obviously makes sense. I don't think that anybody challenges that this isn't something that is more efficient, but if you really want to see how can this add value to specifically for you, I mean, they're willing to get on a call and go through, you know, 15, 20, 30 minutes or less to figure out, hey, does this make sense or not? And then, I mean, from there you can decide. So I definitely think it's worth the communication. So wrapping up, I know we're a little over the hour. I want to ask each of you guys, I always ask this at the end of my call. Do you have a quote or mantra in your life or business that really just has made a big impact?
So yeah, I have one that I'll share, and it's really kind of appropriate in the times that we're in right now. It's attributed to Aristotle, and he says we cannot direct the wind, but we can adjust the sails.
That's perfect. It's so fitting for this.
Yeah.
I love that. Hector, did you have one?
I like, that's a mantra more than a quote. I like that how you do anything is how you do everything. I keep hearing it over and over in different circles, and I think it just resonates well, right? It's how you represent yourself in one thing is probably how you represent on everything. So that to me is just being I keep repeating, like, well, is that how you do everything? And then I'm like, no, that's not how I do it, and it pushes me to do more. So
I just actually used that exact quote with my teenage daughter like 2 weeks ago. So that hits a little bit home.
all right.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. This has been incredibly helpful, insightful. I know we've talked about this at a couple of different instances, but to be able to do a deep dive and really get some insight into how this works, it's absolutely invaluable. So again, if you guys have not subscribed or liked this channel yet, why not? Like, look at the people that we're getting to talk
The
to.
one right here. Yeah.
Ring the bell, save it, make sure you get subscribed so you can see all the future videos. I mean, we've got Hector and Jeff here. They're amazing, and plenty of other amazing folks coming on. So, Jeff, Hector, thank you guys so much for coming on. This has been incredibly helpful. So everybody else, again, if you haven't hit and liked and shared and subscribed, make sure you do so. Until next time, keep it real. At Infinity Investment Strategies, we teach investors and business owners how to become the bank. In using the infinite banking strategy, you can lower your taxes, increase the control you have over your own money, lower your risk against multiple wealth eroding factors by adding additional layers of asset protection, and increase your leverage with guaranteed growth and the opportunity for dual rates of return. With authorized infinite banking practitioners with experience in business and investments, we are here to help enhance your portfolio.